All right, 5 minutes with director Cal Weary for Twilight, Los Angeles, 1992. Cal.
Yes.
How long have you been in New York for?
A long time. I've lived in New York for 46 years. Was back and forth between here and Brooklyn, New York. My parents had a split, and I got the benefit of being here in New York and in New York.
New York.
So,
very cool.
Been here a long time. I'm a New Yorker, not a New Yorker, but I have the roots. The roots there.
One really cool thing that I liked when we put this together, not to let everyone know your age, but you were a senior in 1992 where this play takes place.
Right.
And we were able to bring in Sergio Paul, who is currently a senior here at York Academy. So I just thought that was a very interesting dynamic for you to have a young black man on your staff that was the exact same time period for you, and you were here in New York at that time, right?
Yeah.
So what was that kind of experience working with that generational expanse of the production team?
Maybe I've worked with teenagers. Most of my work has been with people of that age, middle schoolers to teenagers. I worked with all ages. I find it refreshing to have someone, especially just how good he is at what he does already. He is already at a very professional level. What he delivered for us, music-wise, is infectious. It sticks in your head.
It's an air word.
Yeah, it is. And it fits very well into our piece. We gave him some basic information, and he just jumped right into it. And it was wonderful to have that. His insight into what was necessary, not only for that, but also music that he came up with for our house music, just really showed that he was a student of the time, or he made himself one, and I respected that. I love working with people who are younger because it helps keep me young, so I appreciate that.
And a really interesting thing that we have going on in this production is actually a live projection design. We have projection artist Justin Ayala, the second half of Aortic Valve, doing all of the projections on this. So what was working, it almost looks like a creative collage that happens around the cast.
What I did with Justin was, right from the very beginning, I told him that I had an expectation for it to be live mixed. So similar to what you would have with a DJ live mixing music, gauging the feeling of a room, every single performance of this show is different because he is live mixing and he is slightly changing pieces, tweaking, adding new videos, adding new textual pieces for texture, as well as for to give information during the show. And he jumped at that because that's really what he does.
Right.
So rather than us coming to him and saying, "Here, can you can something for us for 3 hours?" It's like, "Can you just be here for 3 hours for every single show or more?" And he put together a ridiculous amount of information from that time, as well as some pieces from current situations and revolts and the demonstrations that mimic what happened then. And so that was actually a very interesting history lesson that folks are getting every time they watch the show.
Yeah, and the juxtaposition, and you've mentioned this in a few interviews and stuff too, of it took George Floyd to be killed for more action to be taken, for the first police officer to be sent to prison for something like that.
Right.
And so the 30 years, it's the 30th anniversary. I hate to even use that word, but it is this marks 30 years since that happened. So what has changed and what's still the same?
So I think, if we're being honest, the reason why there's no other word besides anniversary, which when we say anniversary, it sounds like it's a good thing. Because generally when we have the anniversary of something, it's a wedding anniversary, it's an anniversary of a job, something that we care about. We don't have a word that I know of that fits when you say the anniversary of something horrible. That's why whenever anything horrible happens, we have to find the good things that come from that. So, are there good things that come from something that, like the Rodney King summer or the Rodney King? Yeah, of course, because there are pieces that were put in place from then that allowed us to look back and say, we don't want to have another 30 years where we don't have change. So I think that we can still use the anniversary. It still feels weird to say it, But what we have learned is that we weren't going to allow it to happen the same way again. And yes, a man did die with George Floyd. That definitely did happen. But I think that the mobilization of people, what they needed to do, what they knew they needed to make happen, to actually have real change, came from watching what happened both in the Watts riots and also what happened with Reginald Denny and with Rodney King.
Right. And is that the end of our thing? I thought it was. I was waiting for the timer to go, and it did go. Yeah, that was the end of our time. So that is 5 minutes. But in the last 5 seconds, why don't you tell people right to the camera why to come see the last weekend of Twilight Los Angeles?
Come and see us for the last weekend of Twilight Los Angeles 1992, because it will be a forever changing moment in your heart and in your soul, and it is a call to action to make New York and the rest of our country great.
Twilight Los Angeles, running through February 5th here at Dreamlight Center for Community Arts. Hope to see you at the show.